It's just another night for Supernatural Girlz. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girlz.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host all the way from sunny Tucson, Patricia Kirkman. PK, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. I've been roasted on the spit today. It's 105. That's very nice. But it's humid. Since we had the rains, it's that heat. I don't care what anybody says. There's no dry heat here right now.
Well, you don't look any
out.
worse for the wear, I'll tell you.
Yes.
You look as glamorous as ever. It's good to see you.
Oh, sweet talker, you. Keep up the good work.
Well, it's good you look so good and you feel so okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a
with everything
good
going
day.
on in the world, my God, we've got fire on one coast and water on another, and what in the world is going on? What are the numbers telling us?
Well, firstly, today is a 7-day. And if everybody recalls, 7 deals with spirituality, secrets being made known, and the unexpected. And I'll make a bet that most of our audience did not sleep well last night and have been restless throughout the day. Anything to do with legality is popping up today. May not have finished, but there may be prelude to things taking place. But the most important part is that darn retrograde, although the major retrograde is ended, we're in the shadow period until the 15th. So people are still kind of watching the balls in the air, trying to decide, shall I catch them or try to dodge them? And I'm afraid most of them are trying to catch us. Because we're dealing with what's going on is this is reviewing the entire year this month. So the good, the bad, and the ugly got us wedged.
It's all coming back. But what are these people doing in Florida? I think some are leaving, some are staying, some haven't made up their minds yet.
Fear and panic. And with the 7 around, we don't know who or what to trust. God knows people that have been telling us what to do news-wise. You can't trust them because you don't know for sure. And everything is just in flux. It's not fun right now. And if we could get the East Coast and the West Coast together, we'd be in better shape.
Yeah, they need some of our water. And
for sure.
We need less of it. Well, again, we really hope everybody stays safe. We know this is a terrible storm. It's a beast of a storm, a category 5 that we haven't seen this, and I don't know when, not in my lifetime. So this is a really scary thing, but we really would like everybody to stay safe, do the best you can, get to higher ground, or leave your area if you are in the path of this Hurricane Irma, and get to a better place. Go visit some friends, relatives, and just drop in.
A lot of people have been offering, and same thing here. I've got an extra room if somebody needs it. That's not a problem. Everybody's willing to help out. But I think the sad part about it is fear is taking over, and when we react instead of act, we're going to be in trouble. And there's issues right out there right now that those that are taking advantage of everybody's problems, right? Did you hear about some people that have rented their homes that have been underwater and that are ruined? They're mad at the people because they're not paying the rent on that house.
Excuse me. God.
Yeah, and selling water for $27.95. Thank you.
That's not okay. And also people leaving their pets behind. I'm sorry, but
that's sick. That's sick.
Not acceptable. If you are a pet owner, then you need to make arrangements for your pet. You need to take your pets. Or also horses. Don't leave them tied up in their stall. They don't stand a chance. My God, come on, people.
Did you see how many people have been busting through to really get all these animals out? They're not even their animals, but they're working to bring all this out. And what they're doing in Texas to bring some of this, God love them all.
I know
May
the
God stay
Cajun
with them and
Army
protect
and
them.
all the police and all of these people that are just volunteering their time to rescue people and the animals. God bless them all. And again, please don't leave your animals behind in
no.
Florida. That is just a horrible fate, and they're your responsibility. They are your pets and your animals, and you need to take care of them, no matter what Mother Nature is bringing your way.
That's right.
So that's my lecture for tonight.
Well, it is well noted. And I think the most important thing, if we could all just remember at the end of the day, say a prayer.
Yes.
We know that whoever your God is, they're listening.
That's right. And where two or more are gathered, we can make anything happen.
That's right.
So that's important to keep in mind. Now, we've got some really fascinating paranormal news. I just want to mention our guest. We're going to bring her on in a few minutes. We have a great guest tonight.
Yes, we do.
And because, these storms, they make us feel rather powerless. But our guest tonight her name is Laura Tempest Zakroff, and she has a great book.
Yes, she does.
Read it.
See?
Look at that. It is called The Witch's Cauldron, the craft, lore, and magic of ritual vessels. And the cauldron has very special significance and a lot of power. We're going to find out about this, because in this time when we tend to feel powerless with everything going crazy around us, it's nice to know that we can have a ritual vessel like this, and we can use it to focus our attention, our intent, our power, and bring good things into manifestation. Right. So our guest tonight is going to inform all of us on the history of this, on how this came to be, and how to use this in our own homes today. We can do more than cook breakfast, right, in our cauldron. So we're going to.
That's nice to know. I'll tell you what, I've got a few. Now you can't put people in them.
No, got a real big one for you. I got a big one.
Okay. All right.
I'll tell you what, just bring them on over. So anyways, we'll hang them by their toes. We've got some fascinating paranormal news stories, and I've posted them all on Facebook. We had a construction worker who took a photograph of a flying cryptid. This thing was huge, flying over the highway.
Yes.
My God. So anyways, you guys got to take a look at our Facebook page. Don't forget to give us a like so you can follow us there. But we've got some terrific stories. So that one with a photograph, that you got to take a look. We want to know what you think. Real or fake? I think it's real. I do. What do you think?
Oh, I think it's real.
I think that one is.
Shall we make a challenge? Get the votes into us, folks. We want to know.
Yes, we want to know. And now you also have nephews that sent in a photograph of a UFO. It looks kind of like a cloud, looks more like a UFO to me. I posted that one.
My sister sent it. She was at my nephew's in Cheline, Washington. So our guest is very much aware of that place, I'm sure. But there's nothing else in the sky. It looks exactly like a UFO.
It definitely does. It definitely does. And we all know from having past guests about UFOs that they oftentimes use clouds to try to mask the actual ship. They didn't do a very good job. It still looks like a ship to me.
I know it does. And the color, the way it looks, it's like, oh my God, it just looks so real, almost like looking at cotton candy.
Yes, it looks like that. It does. They're getting very creative with their masking process.
I like that idea.
Okay. Yeah, I do too. I think that's very cool.
Don't take me, give me a bite of the cotton candy.
That's right.
Let me stay behind.
Go take a look at that photo, everybody. It's on our Facebook page.
It is.
And we have other stories too. We've got a ghost that showed up crossing the road, and it looked like Revolutionary War clothing, didn't it?
That's what I thought. Almost that, or the French Revolution. That
could
period.
Be that. Yeah. So it was very interesting. So take a look at that ghost picture. And again, we've just got tons of stories there, lots of videos. Just enjoy yourself and go take a look. And we're going to be doing some other fun things with stories. I'm going to start reading supernatural bedtime stories, and we're going to be posting those. So just in case you can't sleep some night and you want to hear something spooky, I'll be talking it in your ear before too long. So be sure to check back. We've got lots of stuff that we're going to be sharing with you. And, of course, our great guests. And tonight we have a terrific guest. Now, You're going to learn tonight stuff that is going to make such a difference in your life. And it's important to pay attention. So let's
Yes.
bring her on, right? We've got Laura Tempest Zakroff, the author of this brand new book, The Cauldron. Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's our pleasure. Now, you're taking on a very iconic symbol here with your new book. It's a great book, and it's so filled with facts and information that we can actually use. But these things are incredibly old. They come just thousands of years old, aren't they?
Yes, and going back to pretty much the dawn of civilization, when we first figured out that we needed to move water or carry fire and transport things around, we devised cauldrons. It's better than a coconut or a goat's bladder, that's for sure.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
Yes. So now, how does this translate in with witchcraft? How did this come to be used as a sacred vessel for transformation and magic?
Well, it's a very utilitarian object, right? That you can cook in it, you can clean with it, you can dye, you can mix things up. And once you get into the realm of witchcraft, we're taking normal things and transforming them, right? We're working with the other. And it's when you think about the old witches, right, back in the day, you didn't have fancy tools. You didn't go out to the witch shop to pick up your things. You had what you used in your house around you, which would be your broom. It would be the knife that you cut with, and it would be your cooking pot, which would be your cauldron. And we have a long history of sympathetic magic, the idea that the like can affect the like, the similar, right? So when you create a meal with intention to do good, to heal with it, you're adding that intention to it, so you can have that sort of magic. When you cleanse with it, that you can affect the world around you. So there's that sense we were, when you cook a meal when you're angry, right, and things don't go the right way, when things get wasteful. But when you have that sense of being in that place and that time and thinking about, this is for my family that's coming together, and these are the radishes that I got from my garden and the potatoes that I grew, and or got them from a friend, you're thinking about all these things coming together. So that power of intent and focusing your will can have a huge effect.
Well, that all makes sense. I mean, I know we were talking off the air about cooking and how just your mindset about cooking makes a difference in how the food tastes, how it comes out. I know, PK, you were sharing your story about liver and onions and how you look so forward to eating your liver and onions and they tasted so good. And it's just having that love, for something that you're doing with your cauldron, whether it's cooking for yourself or your family, or again, creating a ritual around it. But I honestly cannot think of a more powerful tool than the cauldron.
I agree. Out of all of the tools that are out there, the cauldron is my favorite. So I'm so honored to be able to write a book on this, because it's a thing that is in every part of our lives. When you think about it, people are like, I don't have a cauldron. Well, do you have a pasta pot? Do you have a coffee pot at home, a tea kettle? Do you have a bathtub? Do you have a washing machine? All of these things have evolved from the cauldron. They're the same things that one vessel we used for, but as we expanded into having, 3-car garages and much more things, it's like we have room, we have the resources for these, and so we created more objects to do the same job. They're still all cauldrons, though, when you think about it.
That's true. It's fascinating. So now you were drawn to write this book, and it's very informative. You've identified all different kinds of cauldrons and how the metal is associated with certain aspects and powers. So tell us more about the metal, because I know people are going to want to know, what kind of cauldron should I have? So tell us about that. And also how people should know which one to pick.
That's a great place to start. When we look at the history of the cauldron, the first vessels we made were probably ceramic. So ceramic vessels are very utilitarian, though they're not great for cooking, as we know that they're also very fragile. But if you have something that, if you want to make something for yourself, it's very easy for folks to go to a pottery studio and to make something. So if you just want to be able to hand make it, and you want to use it as a bowl for ritual offerings or to mix things in, that's a good place to start. But cauldrons, as we know them, really started in the Bronze Age. So bronze is a wonderful mixture, and you have copper, you have brass, you have different elements, and tin that are worked in there. And all of those metals have different properties. Copper, we think of Aphrodite, Venus, that kind of energy, and we also think about cleansing with it. And if you look back in Roman history, in the aqueducts, there was copper piping, and we still use copper piping today.
Yes.
Because it does have these antibacterial, antifungal properties to it that other metals don't have. Often if we have plumbing problems, it's because they went with the cheaper pipes that weren't made of copper. So if you're working with a particular deity or you like those healing qualities, a copper cauldron is a great way to start. But most classic one, of course, would be the cast iron cauldron. And this is great for cooking, and it can definitely be transported around very easily. The only type of thing that people get a little funny about is working with iron if you're working with Fey energy. But some traditions think that's okay, and others don't. It's totally up. And our blood has iron in it, so I don't know how detailed you want to go about those little minutiae. But with a cast iron cauldron, if you're into cooking, if you want to cook inside, you want outside, if you want to burn things, it is really one of the most versatile, easy to clean as well. There are a lot of ways you can just scoop it out and clean it without a lot of needing extra cleaners with you. If you're camping, you can just sort of brush it out. And as we talk about in the book, you can get it clean again if you've done the unfortunate thing and left it out to rust.
Yeah, I have, as I mentioned, I have a big, huge cauldron outside. It's an antique. And the thing is very rusty, and it looks like it's going to be like a big deal cleaning this thing. How do you clean the rust off something like that?
It depends on how bad it is. You want to make sure that it doesn't have rust holes all the way through. Like if it's really brittle and all you have is rust, you might want to just let it be.
With holes in it, right?
Yes, there's a very, very, it's antique, it's authentic, it has that old world feel. But if it's something where it's a little bit minor, then a little bit of elbow grease goes a long way. There are other methods, though, when we can work it with rubbing oil into it and putting into the oven. You can cook it off a bit. Some people like to throw it into the fire and let the fire burn off the rust, and then you can scrub it out. There is a method I talk about in there about the self-cleaning oven, so that you put it in. But that one, read your warranty, your manuals, all that such things before you try it. Not responsible if you blow up your oven.
Yeah. That's right.
But a little bit of sandpaper and elbow grease, if it's not too bad, is a good way, or a wire brush. But be sure to wear a mask while you're doing it, because those little rust particles are not great to breathe in.
Okay, so that's good advice. Well, thank you for that, because I do want to clean it up. It's a beautiful, huge cauldron. I'm thinking that I could make some big spells in there. So. But I'm not big on like scrubbing, so the fire part might work. I might have to dig a pit somewhere and start a fire and put it in. But I will have to have help. This thing is huge. I mean, it's heavy. It's substantial. I'm sure somebody did some spells in it a long time ago. So I'm excited that you're with us tonight. So now I'm going to learn all about this, and PK, you are too, so we can do our own spell work with this. It's so cool. I love it.
Got some ideas. I have a few who's.
Yes, I'm sure you do.
Yes.
That's right. But we only wish for good.
Of course. That the spell is done really good.
Yes.
Balance is a good way. I like to look at, let's look for balance.
Yes, look for
good
balance.
Good thought.
Now, with a cauldron, so you can choose your metal, and you can, like you said, if you have a deity that you associate with your magic work, then you might want to find some metal that is appropriate. Can you give us an example of that?
As I mentioned, Aphrodite is known for working with copper. Though Medea, Hecate, a few of those mythic deities and the more dark goddess aspects, iron tends to be one that most people associate with them. There are some where you have silver, though the thing is that silver cauldrons, they're a beautiful idea, but you don't want to use it for anything where you're actually applying temperature to it, right? Because it has a low melting point. The same thing with gold as well. Like the Gundestrup cauldron, which is a beautiful, work of art. That's mainly silver. It was more for decorative purposes. They weren't cooking in that beautiful, carefully etched and jeweled cauldron. So the most important thing is what is it that you want to do with your cauldron? Are you cooking? Are you setting fires in it? And then figure out your associations. I have very much a practical approach first. If you have the vessel in front of you, if it's just a stainless steel pasta pot is all you have, your deities will be fine with that.
Yeah, so you can make that work too. So you don't even have to go out and buy something special if you don't want to. You can use a pot at home. It's the intent, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
And you also want to be careful, though. There are some cauldrons that are sold out there that are supposed to look like cast iron, but they're not. So if they say they're for decorative purposes only, believe it. Especially when they're coming from China and from India. A lot of those things have pot metal or they're painted black instead of being actual iron. So you don't want to be cooking in something. If it says for decorative purposes, believe it. Make it for decorative.
Be very careful of that.
Yes, good point. Good point. So what kind of instruction can you give us as we choose to use our cauldrons for spell work and magic and intending something to come to fruition? So whether it be transformation of ourselves or transformation of the world around us, what do we do? How do we use the cauldron?
I think the first place to start is think about size. People are worrying, like, if I have a big project, does that mean the big cauldron that you have out there that you can fit a small child in, versus the ones? Not that I've tried.
Okay.
But the little miniature cauldrons, you go to most little occult metaphysical shops, you'll find those little cauldrons. People are like, oh, I have a really big spell. Is this going to work? Well, what is it that you want to do with it? If you're just lighting a candle inside of it, you don't need something that you can fit, a goat inside of, the goat, leave the goat alone,
right.
Let it go do its thing. So that small vessel. So thinking about all the different things, any kind of spell work you can do with a cauldron. So if you're doing a healing spell, you can be gathering together herbs that are your healing herbs. Say if it's for, let's say, emotional healing, like lavender. Lavender's a good one for calming effects, and you can mix together some of your favorite herbs and put them together into a little pouch, and so that you can grind them in the cauldron. You can make a tincture out of them and then take a bath with it. You can do prosperity spells with that same thing, where you're taking herbs.
God, please talk to us about prosperity spells.
God, yes.
How do we do those?
It's easy. Just light a candle.
All the audience is on the edge of their chair right now hearing about this one.
We all want to know this one.
Okay.
I believe in the book I have a wonderful one with putting silver coins in there and focusing and blessing the coins under a full moon. And so that they could just be quarters, right? You don't need to take anything fancy, or maybe one of those gold $1 coins they have that are circulating again in the U.S. And you say you want to do under full moon and focus on what is it that you want to be prosperous. Magic follows the path of least resistance. So when people say, oh, I want to be prosperous, well, how do you want to be prosperous? Do you want your job situation to get, or do you want to make how much more money? Are you looking to have a child? Do you want to get a house? You don't want to just be like, oh, general, because then they'll be like, well, you can be prosperous and having all this poison ivy grow in your front.
Right.
Not good. Not good at all.
Be specific. And so let's say that you want it for a job. So if you infuse, you take some of those herbs and the gold coin and focus on it during a full moon. And then when you go to your job interview, you have that in your pocket. You can remind yourself that I have my prosperity with me. I'm going to secure this job, or the best job that I can with it. And that's a great way to focus it in. You could do the same thing, though, with a bathtub, where you take that bath with those herbs and that coin, and you think about preparing your body and your mind and your spirit for that as well. I like the full immersion. That's probably my favorite kind of cauldron, is a bathtub.
Ah,
I love taking baths, and I feel like the bathroom can be a very magical place, especially when you take the time to make sure that your bath is clean. Magic is very hard to. It doesn't work very well from mildew in the bathroom, right?
No, but you're bringing up an interesting point of being in the bath because you're surrounded by water. It's calming, and you can have your candles around you, whatever, and then you are actually in your own cauldron.
Yes.
Very cool. That is
very
so
cool indeed.
Full magic immersion.
What about this? Yeah, Laura, what about people who maybe they don't want a better job? Maybe they just want to attract money. So they can take the same idea that you just gave us, with the silver coins or the gold coin, and they can focus on it and then burn some type of herb. And now, what herb would you burn for that? Did we lose Laura?
Yeah, I think we did, honey.
Oh,
I think
darn
we did.
it. Just when we're talking about the...
I know what. I want to get the good stuff, and she's telling us how to find it and what to do.
Well, we're going to
see.
Get her
there's that darn retrograde working on us. That shadow period.
Oh, see. Well, but this is so fascinating. I mean, then tonight's a full moon, isn't it? I think it is.
I do believe it is.
So we can all get our pots out and begin the ceremony tonight, right after the show. We can all put our silver coins or gold coins, if we're lucky enough to have any. Those in there.
You don't even have silver coins anymore. I mean, usually they're like silver coated. It used to be.
I know.
The dimes were silver, etc.
Yeah, but still, like she said, you don't have to be fancy about it. You can just take quarters and use quarters if we have to, right?
Well, of course, aren't they copper? Maybe something like that.
Yeah, there's copper in the middle, I think, now. But what we can do is we can start the ceremony tonight. But I want to find out, here's my questions, okay, once Laura comes back. There she is.
She's
Hello.
back.
I'm back.
Inquiry minds want to know.
So here's our questions that we want to do a prosperity thing for all our people tonight. Tonight's a full moon, isn't it?
Technically, I believe last night was.
Was it
last night?
I tend to go by the idea that the full moon is visible for 3 full nights to the naked eye.
Okay.
And so in our tradition, we look at 3 nights
too, then.
Oh well, good.
So
we still got.
We haven't missed our chance. We haven't missed it. So for everybody in the audience, what we can do is we can take our coins, right? We can put them in the vessel, and it can be anything. It can be any cauldron. It can be any, if you have a special one, or you can make a special one out of a pot that you use in your kitchen. And then you can put your coins in there, any coins. And now, what herb would you use with this prosperity magic?
I like basil or basil.
Basil?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I got lots of
basil. I love the smell of it.
Yeah, it's a wonderfully aromatic spell.
The smell of the spell.
Smell. Oh my gosh, and it's often it's easy. Like, right, you often might have it already growing in your garden, or you have it in your herb cabinets, right? Your spices in there.
Now, does it have to be dried, or can you just have fresh basil and you add that into the cauldron?
Fresh is best because you really get that smell from it, and you can crush it up and really connect with the spirit of the plant as you're doing it. But if you don't have that, again, sympathetic magic is more about the like affects the like. So you can still, if hopefully your spice rack is fairly recent, hasn't been sitting there for 10 years, you will still get that aroma. You could also use allspice or cinnamon. Again, these are both very aromatic herbs.
Cinnamon now. Yeah, cinnamon. I've heard a lot about that for prosperity. Well, listen, everybody, we have to just take a very short break in a minute. We're going to come back, and we're going to go through the rest of what we need to do for our prosperity spell tonight. After the show, we're all going to be doing this. It's going to be great. So, in the meantime, you can go visit our Facebook page. Like us, follow us, sign up for the Fringe Files, our newsletter. And follow us on Twitter. Don't forget to do that too, so that you can keep up with all the crazy stuff we're doing and sending your way. So stay tuned, everybody. You are listening to Supernatural Girlz Radio. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, PK, and our guest, Laura, who is talking us through a prosperity spell with a cauldron. And this is what we're learning how to do tonight. So we've got a few steps under control so far. Tonight, it's kind of the full moon. We can still use the energy of this in the sky to manifest. We've got coins in the cauldron. We've got basil, cinnamon, allspice, and what other magical ingredients do we need?
Well, if you like the dry method, you can just mix those things in there together and stir them with your hand clockwise in the cauldron. Clockwise is the direction of increasing. And that way you'd also getting the herbs on your hands and rubbing it through. And you can put them all into a little pouch after that, just focusing on what you want to do. Some people like a little bit more. They like to let something on fire and like the idea of brewing things in there. So you could also, in addition to putting the coins down and putting the herbs in, is put some water into the cauldron. You can think, okay, this is the water that's going to add, rehydrate my life and add new prosperity. And so you can add that in and then stir the water with the herbs and the coins. And then lastly, a tea light. You can put a tea light.
Oh.
This is for the pyromaniacs out there who also like to add a little bit of fire, because a tea light or one of those little floating ones.
Me.
Yeah,
I like things on fire.
I told you you were a hot chick.
Yeah, I like the fire.
Yeah,
But that's a nice way to combine the water and the fire. You can put the tea light right in the water and set that on fire.
Right. So
that
you have the earth aspects of the herbs. You have the metal of both the cauldron and the coins that you're working with, the water in there, and then you have the fire. And then the air is all around you, because the fire cannot work without the presence of air, of course. And so you can light that and focus on your intention. And so that would be, how do you want to be prosperous? What do you want to draw to you? And light that. And in the book, I give you a little chant. Some people love chants. You can just say to yourself, I want this new job. I want to make, $50,000 a year. I want to have healthcare benefits. And you can do that. But some people love the rhyme. And so I also have a little rhyme for you if you're into rhyming. And that would be, yay, silver, spice, basil, and light. Bring money now into my sight.
Oh, I love it. Say it again.
Okay, so dramatic. Silver, spice, basil, and light. Bring money now into my sight. And so you can repeat that.
I like that.
For every, let's say you put a couple, 5 quarters in there, then you can repeat it 5 times so that you feel like you've covered them completely. And then I would let the candle burn down, safely. Make sure you keep an eye on it. And then once you're done, you can also sprinkle that water with the herbs by your front door, your back door, by your car, to also bring that prosperity to your house or your home. And then you carry those quarters or the dollar coin or pennies with you, wherever you're going. Or you can place them on an altar if you have an altar that you can look at every day. Or sleep on them if you really want to.
So there's all different kinds of ways to just integrate this energy into your life. So you're reminded of your intent. You're reminded that you're co-creating with the universe. This is what you want. I love this. And it's all with good scent. I mean, like you said, PK, you love the smell of basil.
Oh, God, yes.
Cinnamon and allspice. Oh, my God, yeah. So you're creating this environment that just keeps you in the mindset, I guess, of this is what I'm creating.
Exactly.
That's
and it
wonderful.
Seems simple, but a lot of people, you think about it, often have a negative mindset instead. They're always talking about what they don't have and how things are not working for them. And it's a bit of that poverty complex, right? That mindset. If you're always looking at what you don't have, it's very hard to bring in what you do want or do need into your life. And so taking that time to smell those herbs and think about that and really vision about what you want into your life, it's such a good use of your energy instead of complaining and whining or just being, getting depressed about what you don't have, which might even be something you don't even need. So this little switch, it's simple, But it is a lot of work for people who have a very negative outlook on things.
But I would think, though, Laura, that for a lot of people who do want something better for themselves, that the cauldron can become that vessel of transformation easily, right? Because it helps to focus. I mean, you put your mind in a different space when you have that cauldron there with you, right?
Yeah, you have this, centuries of thinking about, sitting down in front of the cauldron and putting elements into it, whether you are practicing witch or you've just seen, Macbeth or any Disney movie with a witch, right? We have this cultural connection to the cauldron that something special is going to happen once I put these things into that. And that's part of the thing, is to excite and fascinate the mind so that it is inspired to help you do the things you want to do.
Exactly. So there's so much that can be done when you have a focus like that. Go ahead, PK.
Do you find that by utilizing these that it has enhanced what you do and how you do it? The more you do, the more you want to do?
Yes, and it's practice, right? Anything you want to do and excel at, you have to do it regularly. And for the first time someone's doing a spell, you might feel a little silly. But think of all the things we did make believe as a child.
Oh, gosh, right? Yes.
That was so easy. We have lost so much. Something that happens after, 7, 8, or 9, we become teenagers, and all of a sudden the world, we lose our magic. We lose that ability to think about possibilities, or some of us do. As an artist, I've always had art training, and so that's always been my, imagination has been very active, and to see something and manifest it from a pencil and some paint, right, to make something happen. And witchcraft is not that different, right? You're still working with those same things of taking nothing and making it into something bigger, or just taking a few raw elements and making it into your finished stew or your spell, whatever you're creating.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Fabulous.
Now, we do have a question for you from the chat room from Christy. Christy's asking, where would you purchase or how can you create Veste powder, whatever that is?
So Veste powder is a brand that you'll find in many different, either hoodoo and different kind of witch shops will sell it. It's a mixture of saltpeter and cornmeal or cornstarch, and it causes a little poof. Right. So if you actually just look up Veste powder, you'll find links on Amazon and Azure Green and various things. But there's also a lot of links to show you how to do it. You do want to be careful, though, because handling saltpeter, which is flammable, it's not very good to have in contact with your skin. So be smart. Don't handle things that are dangerous. Use gloves. Use safe environments. But it's mainly a nice effect. It's called Veste powder because it's working with Vesta or Hestia, if you want to go a little bit more onto the Greek side of working with the hearth goddess. But hearth deities, you can work with them in any kind of element. They love food. They love fire. I mean, that's your jam as deities. So you don't need to have a big poof to make it work. But right. That's more of your magician showmanship, right? We love that kind of fantasia. Poof! I set the thing on fire. I talk in the book. There's actually Reverend Philip Kessler has a little recipe contributed to the book about using alcohol and salt to get that burning cauldron effect. I don't like to burn too many things in my cauldron. I actually don't. I love lighting candles and doing small fires, but I don't often just set things on fire. I have cats. I have a lot of flammable things, and so I will rather go for the intent versus just setting things on fire I'm already there. I don't need to set it on fire.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Now, you mentioned a couple places where you could buy these types of things.
So I always recommend wherever you look on Witchvox. That's witchvox.com. And that is a website that has resources for pagans, for witches, Wiccans, etc., all over the world. And people have listed by groups, but they also have listings for shops. So I always recommend, you would be surprised. I have been all over the country this year, and in some of the strangest little spots you wouldn't expect, there are places where you can get supplies for witchcraft. So check out and see if there's something close to you. Otherwise, you can go online. Azure Green has been around forever, They used to have a wonderful catalog. I don't know if they still have a physical catalog because we're in the digital age, but they carry a whole variety of things. But
They're right here in this town.
Yeah, that's right. They're in Massachusetts.
Oh, that's right, down the road from you.
They're right up the road.
Yeah. All of a sudden, I kept thinking the name sounded familiar. Now I know why.
You know why. And they don't have a catalog, printed catalog anymore, but you're right. They do have everything online. So people can go and purchase directly. And they also supply a lot of the stores in the world that are selling New Age and Wicca supplies. So it is a good, reliable place to go also for those types of things. I know I've seen their cauldrons also. I've seen some advertised.
They have cauldrons. There's also the Mystic Dream in the Bay Area. I believe you had maybe Storm Fairy and Devin Hunter and Chaz. They have a wonderful line of things. And if you're not in the Bay Area, you can get online. So many little shops, of course, places in Salem like Enchanted. Everybody tends to have their own mix of little herb packets or blendings of incense that you can use. So I like to make my own, but if you don't have the time, there's nothing wrong with supporting somebody who makes it. I think that's actually a great way of doing it. Leave it to the experts if you don't want to work with, if you want to have a huge store of oils or herbs or very dangerous chemicals. It's
right,
chemistry.
Exactly.
Do you work well with essential oils? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Patricia. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was just saying, we've just talked about a prosperity spell. So that's about manifesting something, which Kay and I are going to do this spell tonight, and we're going to have fun with it. But what about if you want to get rid of something? Can you use the cauldron to get rid of something?
Yes. That would be, when I like to set things on fire, that would be the time to set something on fire. So what we call a banishing spell. Let's say, what do we want to get rid of, hypothetically?
Let's say you got somebody who's bothering you, harassing you, or trying to do something they shouldn't be doing to you. What do you do about that?
All right, I'm gonna give you two because I feel like people today could use both of these variations.
Okay, great.
So let's say you have somebody who you still need them in your life, but you just want them to leave you alone for a bit.
Okay.
And so for that, I would either take a photo of them. You can print out a photo, or you can write their name on a piece of paper. Just scrap paper, doesn't really matter too much. And if you want to, get into your cauldron, you can put some water in there. You can put some salt and your favorite banishing herb, which I might use a little bit of brew or vervain to kind of calm things down a bit in there and to protect. Mix them up. Put that little mixture so you make sure your bag is nice and wet. And then fold up that piece of paper into a little Ziploc bag. And then put it in the freezer. So
okay.
This is it. They're putting them on ice. Right, and so that's the thing, right? You're actually putting them on ice. You're keeping them out of your life, hopefully, and then just as long as somebody doesn't take it out and defrost it, and then you're like, why are they back in my life again?
That was meant to stay in the freezer. Okay, so do you need a cauldron for that or not, or your freezer becomes your cauldron?
Your freezer does become your cauldron, but you can do the initial mixing of the water, the salt. Doing a little bit of herbs or essential oils as well if you don't have the herbs, and giving that aromatic smell to it. Dip it all in there, stir it up. And actually what I would do if I'm going to work in the cauldron, I would also stir it counterclockwise. Okay, so
counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise.
You want it to be banished. You want it to go away. So so you go this way.
Soak that paper in there, get it all good, put it in the bag, fold it up, go. There you go. Now, if let's say you have somebody you really do want to get rid of out of your life, so maybe it's an ex that you don't need in your life, or somebody who's just been bothering you that you're not related to them, you don't need them to hang around. So for that, you can take again a piece of paper with their photo on it, or you can take a piece of paper and write their name on it, and then I would gather up some string. Right? I'd fold that piece of paper up, roll it up. Tie it, string around it, and it can be just regular string. If you like red, you can also use red or black. Some people really like those colors as well. And think about tying that up. This is where the binding aspect comes in, that you're keeping them contained into their space as you wrap it up. And then what you can do is put it into your cauldron. and set it on fire. And then once it has fully burned, you're going to take those ashes and you're going to spread them outside away from your place, which would be hopefully nowhere close by. You can take them to the
Okay, so
river.
not on your own property, somewhere else.
Yeah, you want to take it away. And what you're doing in that combination, if you add that, focusing them onto that piece of paper, you then are tying them up so that you're removing that influence. When somebody is restrained, right? Restraining them. This is your restraining order, because it's very hard to get restraining orders, as most women know nowadays.
That's right.
All right. So you tie that up and then you set it on fire because you're releasing it and making it go away. But those ashes, you don't want that hanging around, right? You don't want that. You want the body still on your property. You want it to go off somewhere else. So moving water is a great way. Some people like swamps because they're like, well, I'm just going to dump them into the swamp because that's where they belong. And that depends on, what you want to do. But I like the idea.
How about a commode?
Yes.
Commode work?
Not to get deep into various recent spell work that have blown up the internet, but I had a friend who used that and then used the commode and then flushed. So you could go down that way. I mean, that's adding a few other layers to it.
Yeah.
But if you just you don't want, none of this is going to hurt anybody, and that's why I don't.
Definitely not.
You're just removing their influence out of your life. And I like the idea of putting them into running water so that they move out of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So so the running water helps the energy move away.
What about driving down the road and opening the window and letting the ashes fly out wherever they go?
There you go.
As long as it doesn't blow it back in your face.
Ooh, what a thought. Well, that solved that one, didn't it?
I have heard too many stories of people, especially when they have loved ones, and they're like, "Oh, I went on a cliff to dump out, my mother's ashes, and then she blew back in my face." I mean, if you carefully dump it out somewhere else where it's not going to blow back at you, that's generally good. So again, water tends to help because it sucks it away. So,
now tell us again, Laura, what herb would you use when you're banishing somebody, when you don't want them in your energy anymore or in your life anymore? What's the herb that would go with that?
I like rue. Rue is one of my...
So rue again. Okay.
Rue, all right. Or vervain. Some people like patchouli because it's also a cleansing herb, so they think of that sense of it smells good. You get that aspect in there, and then you're cleansing with it. So... You can use a few different ones. So, yeah, that's the way I go. The other thing you do want to be careful of is you don't want to be sticking your face on top of these things while you're burning them as well. And do use a ventilated area when you're burning any kind of herb. Rue can be a little dangerous to handle, especially fresh rue. So, because it can cause reactions in your skin. So, very careful. Don't, be like, I'm just going to put my face over this as I set it on fire. And you won't only just use your eyebrows, you will also do some damage. So, magic can be dangerous, but not for the reasons people think.
Right. So be careful with some of these things. Some of these flammable things. But that's really, I think it's a nice way to say no to somebody's energy where you're feeling bothered by them for whatever reason. And like you said, without harming them, without wishing them ill will. But just, it's an interesting, energetic way to create a very good, strong, magical boundary that's going to transcend time and space so that you're not bothered anymore. I think it's a wonderful tool for women to have, like you mentioned, in this day and age. Restraining orders, only reasonable people pay attention to those, and clearly there are a lot of unreasonable people out there.
Very true.
If you can effect a positive change with a ritual like this, then it makes sense to do that. It's to your advantage, especially as a woman. It's to your advantage, I think, to do something like that and use this age-old symbol, the cauldron, to help create your spell. I think it's wonderful, just wonderful. There's so many ways to use the cauldron. We got to get to these. PK, where are you? I can't see you anymore.
I'm right here. Where are you?
I'm here. There you go. Okay, I see you, but now I can't see Laura. What's going on with the internet?
Too much rue and too much vervain.
I'm not trying to send you away, I swear. gosh. So now there's so many more things we can do with the cauldron. What about ancestor magic? Because I know that's a big one. And here's the cauldron, which is a symbol of such an old tradition. What about calling on your ancestors when you're doing magic with the cauldron?
There are so many different ways in my own family. I think my grandmother has passed, and I can think of we come from a formidable line of little Italian and Sicilian women on my mother's side, and all I can think of is them in the kitchen, right? That's the classic Italian.
That's right.
Little grandmom in the kitchen, and so anytime I'm making pasta, and I'm putting the water and the oil and the salt, or I'm making the sauce, I'm thinking about being back in grandmom's kitchen, and making that meal. And so that making the meal, not only am I nourishing myself or my family or friends, I'm calling upon that spirit of my grandparents to be there with me. My grandfather cooked as well. So I think actually with coffee, he had a way of percolating coffee that I drank coffee when I was little, but you think about that. So that's a very active, doesn't seem very magical, but it is, because you're remembering. And that's what was remembered is what lives. That's there we go. Yes.
When you're a little girl and you have these very fond memories of your grandparents and the nurturing that they gave you and the wonderful food that they cooked for you. I mean, it is magical. And so you call that forth, when you do your own pasta. Must taste really good too when you're done.
Well, see, now my grandmother was Sicilian also. And of course, my grandmother taught me how to make her spaghetti sauce. My mother could never make it like my grandmother did. So we used to go through this, show me how she did it. And my grandmother never measured anything. It was handfuls, pinches, etc. But
that's the way
all the fresh herbs and such from the garden. And when I could remember as a kid, when she would get sick or didn't feel well, she would get these headaches. She would go to the garden, take different herbs, lay it on a cloth, roll the cloth, and put it on like a headband.
Wow.
To relieve the headaches.
That's amazing.
The old way, and then the oils or the smell helps you release and relax, and it's a very simple thing. So,
and there's no side effects. How perfect is that?
Yeah. How miracle.
God, I know. Some of these older traditions that we're bringing back, it's like, and again, as a witch, you've never lost touch with that, Laura, which is wonderful. And we're both so glad to have you on the show tonight to bring this back to us, to our audience, because we all need to be reminded of these old traditions, that there are ways we can still participate with this. And certainly our own kitchens are reminiscent of it, and our grandparents or whoever did these wonderful meals for us as children, but we need to bring them back. We need to nurture again, bring them back with intent. We really, really do. I mean, this is a wonderful show to have for everybody to listen to and to learn how to create and transform. And we've got so much more to talk about. Oh my God.
Yes.
Well, listen, we've got to take a very short break again. So everybody, we are speaking tonight with a terrific guest. Her name is Laura Tempest Zakroff, and she has a terrific book, The Cauldron.
Yes, she does.
Which we highly recommend. These are recipes.
It's that good.
It's that good. So we will be back in just a few minutes, everybody. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girlz Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker, here with my co-host, PK from Tucson. And we have our terrific guest tonight, Laura Tempest Zakroff, and she is the author of The Witch's Cauldron. And we are learning so much tonight about how to use this powerful, iconic tool to focus, to create things, to get rid of things. We are learning it all tonight. So, Laura, you just ran out and got one of your cauldrons to show us what they look like. So show us one of your cauldrons.
Oh, I grabbed 4. Oh my gosh, I have a cauldron problem. So this guy.
Ooh, okay.
It looks
okay.
gigantic.
Now that looks like cast iron.
Yes, this one is cast iron.
Okay.
It's tiny.
It has a
for
nice
little people.
lid. Well, it's a good hefty size for doing spellcraft, because you don't need a lot of stuff, right? You don't need to put a cup of basil or cinnamon or
Right.
something, and you're like, that's a lot. A cup of cinnamon is a lot, right? You just need a
Yeah.
teaspoon and, a little pinch. So,
That's a lot. Yeah.
you don't need a whole lot. And it's great. It has that lid on there. So if you are doing a fire, you can put the lid on it to stop the fire. It has a nice little handle, and it has its little solid feet.
Laura, may I ask, because you mentioned quickly about these herbs that you're putting in, you said a pinch, not a cup. Is there a specific amount that should be added when you're doing this?
It depends on the size of your cauldron.
Okay.
So if you want to do something big, then you might, and you're working with a group of people, then you might want a cup of basil to mix around, and if you're doing a group prosperity spell. But if you just have a tiny cauldron like this, then a little pinch,
Okay.
just enough for you to
So
have
people
that
know.
effect. Yeah, because there's also comparison size,
Oh, how cute.
right? That
Yeah.
size.
That's
But
adorable. Look at
This is
that.
my favorite one I brought on tour with me.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
if I can-
pretty.
Uh-huh.
It's tiny.
Oh, it's like an earring. Okay.
Yeah,
Could
it
be.
is super, super tiny, but it even has a little bit.
Oh,
And,
how sweet.
Oh,
This is a
gosh,
hamster
look at
size
that.
cauldron.
That
I
is
do,
so cute.
as I mentioned earlier, copper cauldrons.
Oh, beautiful. Look
Yes.
at that.
So this is one that actually my editor Alicia gave to me while I was on tour, and it's beautiful. It's got little brass feet and a handle. If I burn something in this, I want to make sure that it doesn't have a lid. So, I'm going to be careful where I put it. But I would most likely use water and herbal things for that one, since it's copper. But these things you can burn incense and heavier things, and banishing
Okay,
things.
good.
And that is helpful to have a lid so that if things start to get a little out of control, you put that lid on and you're okay.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing to look for. One other question about covers for cauldrons, because with a lot of magical instruments, they say not to let other people touch them, handle them, or even see them. So does the same hold true for the cauldron?
I'm going to say no. I'm very practical with my tools. I feel like they live in my house. I work with them. If somebody comes in and just looks at it, or touches or picks it up, it's not going to change the energy of it, because I am the mother energy. I am the messenger.
Oh, you're the master.
Yes.
Yes.
Unless it's somebody who just like, you wouldn't want them in your house, then you wouldn't want them touching any of your stuff, kind of thing.
Right.
And then that's kind of the thing. Somebody has a funky energy, you don't want them near you anyway.
Right.
So I have a very practical approach to it. The only thing I'd say in my tools is my tarot deck, is that when I do a reading for somebody, I shuffle for them. It's one of those. But that's a
As
different
opposed to
thing.
letting them shovel.
Yes.
Smart.
Yeah. Yeah, I do that too. I
that is
don't let them touch my cards. Yeah. So that answers that. So now there's just so much more to cover. Again, your book is terrific, and everybody who's interested in learning more about the cauldron, how to do magic with cauldron, this is the book to get.
It is.
So it's excellent, and it's easy to read and understand, and you've got all kinds of tips in there on how to use these things properly, as well as other history. Now, you talked a little bit when we were off the air about ancestor spells and calling upon ancestors, and did you want to go a little further into that with us? So
Yes,
you learn
so-
how to do that.
One of the projects that I have in the book, there are 2 different kinds of paper mache cauldrons. So let's say you don't have a lot of space, or you want to do something that honors your ancestors. You can take photocopies of your ancestors that you know of, or you might be writing the names of them down, and use them in paper mache, which is just glue and flour and water, some sort of mix, or you can buy a pre-made mix at the craft store and put that over the bottom of a 2-liter soda container. Right, or a balloon, right? These are paper mache is very easy. It's a great project for kids as well. So you can do it as a family together, entering, grandparents, aunts, great grandparents. And what I like to do is to do that kind of memory cauldron. So you look at each photo and you put it in there, you let it dry, and then you can set it loose into the world, which is sort of think about. This is going to date me, but the Karate Kid 2. There's a beautiful scene of the Japanese ancestor ceremony where they have the lanterns that go onto the water and they set on fire. And that's a great way of honoring them. That you can put little offerings in the bowl and then let it be set on fire in the ocean, in a pool, in a lake. It's all biodegradable, so you're not harming anything. Now, of course, right now, since most of the Northwest is on fire, be careful where you're doing
God,
these
yes.
things.
Oh, yeah. God, yes.
For sure.
So you can also just let it sink without setting it on fire, or you can also bury it. Burying it, again, it's biodegradable, all these materials, so that you can think about, we're putting down roots here. It's a great thing when you have a new house, right? And you want to take your family with you. You might have left your old family household that generations have been out to move to a different state. You can build this memory cauldron and then put it into your yard, and so that you have them with you, and they, great things can grow out of it. You can plant a tree out of it, wonderful things like that.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people talk a lot about how we are still affected by things that happen to our ancestors, and sometimes that requires a healing. So not just for our sake, but for their sake, because we kind of inherited it. We still are carrying an energy that is unwelcome and unfortunate energy. So we want to change that. Can we use the cauldron to do that?
You could. What I would do with that is if you're working with a particular branch, let's say you had a great aunt that was wronged and that has come down through the family, or perhaps say something as horrible as the Holocaust, coming through, is that you can do that memory cauldron and mix in herbs that are calming and healing, like lavender being a great one. Rosemary is another wonderful herb, and making peace with that or doing what you can to strengthen that. You can also do it where you actually plant, as I said, since it's biodegradable, use it as a seed starter and plant lavender or rosemary into the earth with that, and so that it grows, and you'll think about every time you see that plant, you'll think about that connection.
Interesting. So what other rituals and magical spells can we do with the cauldron? What do you think our audience would like to learn next?
Well, divination. The cauldron is wonderful for divination. So whether you're looking into the past, the present, or the future, because it's not just seeing into the future, sometimes we need to see into there are many different methods. I think I outlined about 10 of them in the book. One of the most simplest ones is you can use it as a scrying mirror. So if you have a black cauldron, magic mirror is just a black surface that you stare into. Same with any kind of crystal, right? The idea is that you look at this blank surface and it lets your imagination kick in. So if you just have your little black pot and you put some water in it under the full moon, right? Great time to do that tonight. Focus on what you want to see and just allow your mind to look into that surface and see what comes from it. If you need a little more stimulation, some people do, you can add oil to it, whether that is an essential oil that, again, to invigorate the senses, or one of my favorite things to do is I like to bless the water with salt. I can use olive oil, right, to look into the surface, and I can do this all in my pasta pot, which means I can look into the situation, prepare my pasta water, and then add pasta. And depending on how that pasta comes out, I will know how the working will go.
Oh, boy. Now, when you talk about divination, just explain to our audience, what kinds of things can you call forth, or what are you looking for? Give us some examples of that.
Right.
Well, some people, what do people like to divine? They like to look into, let's say, how will they get a job or not? A great way to do that, so you get either yes or a no or a possibility, right? Yes or no questions tend to be fairly easy rather than interpreting symbols like out of tea leaves, right? Like, what is the shape? I don't know. But you could look at it, pour the oil in, and go, okay, if everything globs together, that sort of seems like a very positive message to me. If everything disperses, I would feel like that's a no. Another way of doing it is taking wax. So you have a candle, and you have water on the surface of your cauldron, and you can pour the wax into that and see what shapes are made, and that is another form of divination. So whatever your yes or no thing, or feeling about a situation, like, is this a good path for me to go down? And if everything is all messy and it seems kind of jagged, then you're like, oh, maybe this is not the decision I want to make. And you can look into another decision. So the other thing is with the scrying mirror, if you're very good with kind of seeing into images, then you can look at any sort of situation. But some people have a very hard time using their brain and letting them go. If you're one of those people who can't meditate, like, I just can think of my laundry list right now or what I have to go grocery shopping for, then you probably want to keep it very simple down to yes and no questions so you can't argue about it with yourself or get bored.
Right. 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 Yeah, we're not good in the United States at meditating for very long, are we?
No,
Keeping
we
our
are
mind
not.
on one track.
We are not.
Yes. So those are simple things that people can do also with the help of the cauldron. And what other things can we do? I mean, it seems endless. What other crazy, cool things can we do?
Oh, there's so many things that we have time for. As I mentioned, the bathtub is one of my favorite places, so you can always use that for all different kinds of spell work. One thing I advise people, when you think of everyday magic, is you probably make a hot beverage in the morning for yourself if you don't go to Starbucks.
Right.
So you're either using a tea kettle or you're using a coffee pot, or maybe you're one of those juicer folks, right? You might be making a juice or a smoothie in the morning. All of those things are cauldron aspects. So whether you're pouring the liquid or the ingredients in, you can have, as you make your cup of tea, you pour that water and think, what do I want to accomplish today? Do I have a meeting that's going to be difficult? Do I want it to go smoothly? What tea am I going to choose for that? What blend of coffee do I want to use? I think, okay, I've really got to have a powerful day. I've got to give a really big presentation, or I have a big project I need to get taken care of, or I just need to relax. So maybe you need like a lavender Earl Grey tea is a great mix for like needing to be awake but feeling calm. So you have that tea, you have the process of thinking about the hot water as it's reacting, and then you have the holding of it as well. So you don't have to put on, candles and different kinds of music and dress up to have your cup of coffee or tea in the morning or your smoothie. You think about that intent. So that's a very simple way you can bring magic every day and use your cauldron. There's the unconventional cauldrons in your life. So
that's great, because it does help to make every moment sacred when you do something like that. Mm-hmm. And it calls upon the spiritual. And when we are being, very materialistic, we're starting our day, we're thinking about getting dressed and what, makeup and hair and all the stuff we got to do just to get out the door. But here's that moment when you make that spiritual connection and all you're doing is drinking your coffee or tea. So it's a great idea, what you're sharing with us now. And I think it's important, because so many times, we lose touch with that connection to the spirit. I think these crises that we're seeing now in the world today, they force us to start praying again and connecting again and all that. But we shouldn't have to be forced into it. No. We should just make a choice in every moment to have that connection, and here's a great way to do it. It's simple, it's easy. So I like that. Now, one of the questions I just got by text is about you. They wanted to know what kind of witch you are. Do you have a special tradition that you follow?
I am a modern traditional witch, and that reflects using traditional pathways, folkloric traditions, as well as that I am a modern witch living here in America. So even though I come from Italians and Sicilians and Russians and Latvians and Lithuanians and all those, I am not of that land anymore, right? I might have gotten genetically here, but right now I live in the Pacific Northwest, and so I resonate with the land around me. I will use matches or a lighter rather than flint, right, to that modern practice.
Yeah, makes sense.
But it still has that idea of classical witchcraft. There's a very simple sense of balance, and as we mentioned on break, I'm a MacGyver witch. That is, whatever I have around me, I will use it to get the result I need. I don't feel like if the moon is not quite in the right phase for what I'm doing, then I'm like, okay, what else do I need? If I can't do a prosperity spell, what do I need to get rid of in my life right now if the moon is waning? If I don't have a purple candle, well, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to use that candle, and I'm going to think about that energy that I need. Add lavender oil to it if I need to go that way. So I'm very much a very simple, get it done when it needs to get done kind of witch.
That sounds
good
great.
sense.
I love that. A MacGyver witch. There's nothing better.
I have to chuckle because my husband, when he was alive, he was always fixing things. And my daughter called it the MacGyver fixer because it's when they went to redo our water system in the backyard. And the guy said, I don't know how he did it, but it worked.
Wow. Isn't that great? You know, I heard another story too. I just want to share with you, and I don't know if you know this. You probably do, but long ago, women used to brew beer in cauldrons, and what happened was men started getting interested in the brewing process, and then started spreading rumors that the women who were doing the brewing were satanic worshippers.
Oh,
So, yeah,
yes,
does this
they're
sound
hard.
familiar? You know, taking the
I
power
haven't
away from the
heard.
women?
I haven't heard that variation. I'm sure. I'm not surprised. I'm sure that has popped up somewhere.
Yeah,
Because in the mythic section, there's a lot of cauldrons that do have to do with men, and then that's the idea of the Dagda, the good father who provides for his tribe. So it wasn't just women who cooked; men cooked as well. And they all did brewing. But when we got to about the Middle Ages, everything went a little wonky and a little dark.
Yes, it did.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
and in
it
some
did.
areas much earlier than that. So it's kind of unfortunate, but I don't think there was a particular gender attached to how to use that vessel for the longest time, and hopefully we'll get back to that again. That would be
That'd
doesn't
be
matter what
nice.
equipment you have. You can cook, you can clean, you can do all the things, and you are an
You
awesome
can
person then.
create. You can
Sounded like
create
women's work right
whatever.
there. Cook, clean.
That's right. Yeah, and create prosperity and
Mhm.
love and everything else that you want in your life. So now, in terms of the deities, you talk about Medea, and I found that one very interesting because it is dark and light. Tell us a little bit about Medea.
Mhm.
All right, so this was in the myth section in the book. It's one of my favorite myths. So Medea supposedly is a descendant or a daughter of Hecate and Circe. So all these classic Greek and Thracian witches, women of darkness and magic, and not just sort of tinkering around, like really no potions, no divination, everything that there was to know about the unnatural world, working with spirits. And after she had gone off with Jason and secured the golden fleece, because it was her father who had the golden fleece, they settle down and get married, and Jason's father's not doing so well, and he's like, hey, Medea, can you do anything about my father? His health could be a little bit better. And so she makes like what I call the first herbal shake. Like she creates this herbal juice concoction for him, and like empties out his blood and revitalizes him with this new herbal juice, and he's a youngish man again. He gets another 10-20 years back on his life. Well, the neighboring king heard about this, and he had pissed off Medea in an earlier story. He sends his daughters like, go find out whatever she did to fix him. And so they show up, and she knows who they are, and she's like, oh, I'll help you out. This will be great. I'll show you exactly what I did. And so she gets into the cauldron, she's throwing herbs in there, and the room is filling with smoke, and there's this old goat in there, and she cuts the throat of the old goat, and they throws it in, and then suddenly this young goat comes, charging right out of the cauldron, and they're like, oh, we got it. Okay, we know how to do this. We can do this. And so these girls go back to their father and like, this is what we're going to do. And they do it, and they accidentally kill their father because it was a whole scam. Right? And so it's like, we don't have to, in the modern take, and every the myth I cover in the book, I talk about what does the myth mean, but most importantly, what does it mean to us today? And what they wanted to do was for her to reveal her secrets.
Yes.
So that they could use it. And she's like, no, you're not getting my secrets. We don't have to tell everybody everything if we don't want to. And it's
That's
also
funny.
things, don't always believe what you see, right? When we said earlier with the, adding smoke and various things, it can be a very awesome appearance, but does it do anything? Well, only you really know if you're doing it. But
It's so fascinating, isn't it? And also the king being so arrogant after he pissed her off, whatever he did to her the first time, thinking that she was just going to do something great like this for him, and obviously he had wronged her. So yeah, there's a lesson in all the way around in that story, isn't there? Fascinating.
Yes.
I like Medea.
Yes, I do too. for sure.
And you mentioned Aphrodite, and there's a number of deities, obviously, that you learn and you embrace as a witch. Any others that you want to share stories about with before we end the show? We're coming to the end, unfortunately, but
I'll share with one of my favorite from the other side of my family would be Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga, yes.
Yes, she is the classic, old school witch. The crone in the woods, right, is how she's known. And she goes around sometimes in a chicken hut, that moves through the forest. Depends on how many feet. Some people say 1, some people say 4. I like 2. I think it probably walks around on 2. But she also travels around either in a mortar and pestle or a cauldron. So she kind of stirs around and with a silver broom and moves around.
Nice stuff, huh?
Yes, she's very well outfitted. And what I love about her is that she is one of those, in all of her myths, she's either going to be really nice to you for no apparent reason or really horrible to you. And that's because she's the epitome. She's a representation of nature itself. As we're looking at what's happening right now, like the hurricane. Hurricane is not like, I'm going to go wipe out Florida. It's a hurricane. That's what it does.
Mm-hmm.
It is a simple force of nature. You can go into the woods and you can find berries you can eat and eat mushrooms that are okay for you, or you can eat things that are going to kill you.
Right.
That's how nature is. Nature has nothing personal against us. And that is the same thing with Baba Yaga. Sometimes you get sunshine and sometimes you get a hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you get both. And then you get a rainbow.
Yeah, that's right. A rainbow. We need a rainbow
And something
now.
special at the end.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. We do. Well, Laura, you have another book that you're working on now, and that's coming out in January. We're going to for sure have you back to talk about it. But tell us the name of it again. It's the Sigil book, right? Can't wait to have you back for that. That's going to be great. Well, for now, everybody, you can get this book that Laura has written. It's a beautiful book, The Cauldron. Make sure you get it. There you go. And you just got some lessons tonight for free. And make sure you get the book. It's terrific. And next week, we're back to dreaming. We've got 2 guys coming on telling us how important it is. Remember your dreams and work with them every day. We're going to have a lot of fun next week too, just like we did tonight, but about dreams. And until then, we will see you on the Blue Highway, everybody. Good night. Stay safe. Lots of love to everybody.
Good night, and may the world be blessed.